A couple years down the road, you wake up at 5 a.m.
Oh
You
no.
wipe the crust from your eyes. Your alarm goes off before the sun comes up. You've been doing that a lot lately, ever since you started running your restaurant. Now your schedule calls for you to be up a little bit earlier. You have to oversee the opening of the restaurant, and you got to go in. You gotta place an order.
Yeah,
You got a produce truck coming, right?
man.
You got a you have like a big diverse menu. It's a lot to manage. You have a big diverse restaurant. You have basically like two different menus. One for people who dine in and one for people who dine out. Your restaurant is called Innies and Outies. Also, it has two other menus
Yeah.
depending upon if you have an Innie belly button or an Outie belly button. So there's like four different menu combinations.
Wow.
You can either dine in or dine out and have either an Innie belly button or an Outie belly button. And based on if you're dining in, you have to sit in a separate part of the they separate you. If you have an Innie, you sit on one side of the building. If you have an Outie, you sit on the other side.
Do they check you?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah. When you walk in, there's like a robot that stands at the door. You walk in and it just says Annie or Outie, and
That's
it
fucking
is
cool.
like it is like 99.9% accurate. In fact, the only time but it's not nothing in life is perfect.
No, not even
One
love.
time, the one time the belly button 3000 malfunctioned, it was because this guy walked into the restaurant and he had no belly button. It was sawed off. He lost it to a saw. And
Whoa.
yeah, he was cutting a log, and the log hit like an old arrowhead, or like the chain or the chainsaw hit like an old metal arrowhead, and it like yanked the chain sideways, and it came off and like hit him in the gut, and it cut his belly button off. So when he like walked into a restaurant that had the belly button 3000 BB3K, as everybody knew it, he walked into a
Everybody.
restaurant that had a BB3K set up at the door. And when he came in, it didn't know what to do, and it exploded, and it
Whoa.
poured that it blew up a KFC. Basically, is what happened. I left a fucking crater in the ground, red mist,
Jeez.
right? So
Oh
nothing is
man.
perfect. So
No
you just hope that
survivors.
you. Oh, absolutely not. Although some people say that there was a point after the explosion that the heat generated from the explosion cooked the chicken just right.
Really?
That's what some people said. So it's not perfect, the BB3K, but how many people are going to chainsaw off their own belly button? Numbers are low, right?
Yeah. I have to imagine.
But you have your place insured, so there's no big deal. If there's like a malfunction, if heaven forbid a belly buttonless person were to walk into your restaurant and the BB3K were to blow up and kill you and everybody inside, you would at least be insured. So there's that. But the BB3K does a good job. It
Okay.
has a 99, again, 0.9% accuracy and satisfaction rate.
Wow.
So you don't really worry about it. And the people who have innies can sit on one side of the restaurant, and the people who have outies can sit on the other side of the restaurant. Because this isn't like just a restaurant. It's a place where you like compete, you know. They basically like pit both sides of the restaurant against each other in like a variety of games,
Okay.
bar games, tablet games, trivia, stuff like that. And because society is basically like a 90-10 split, innies versus outies, you have to sort of weigh them differently. You weigh the answers, you weigh the successes, the scores. Sort of you basically balance each number to 100, and you just grade them on different scales based on the number of people that are there. But it has become a hotbed for like gambling.
Really?
Yeah, right. So you guys have a you call it uh trivia Tuesdays. And from 6 to 8 p.m., the innies versus the outies play each other in trivia, right? And you guys give away just like gift cards, or like a free milkshake, something like that. But the people who show up are betting heavy on this stuff, right? So there's like there's a group of people that kind of come regularly, and they're sort of ringers in a trivia sense, right? There are people that show up that monitor the match. They're placing bets on the side. They're giving odds, right?
Wow.
Right there in your dining room. You guys are controlling the scoring aspect of it. It's sort of like an autopilot kind of thing. And there are like 40 people in your dining room. You guys have been busy all night, and
Whoa.
everybody is watching like with bated breath, right? They're living and dying on each score, who answered the question faster, right? You see money just flying around your dining room.
Whoa.
This is the place. If it's burning a fucking hole in your pocket, guess where you can bring it?
Where?
Any
Sonalities.
So your trivia Tuesdays is like honestly pretty fucking packed, you know. You guys you serve, traditional sort of American cuisine. You got burgers, you got wraps, you got sandwiches, you got chicken stuff, you got salads, you got appetizers, you got a full bar, trivia on Tuesdays, you know.
Got it all.
You got a you got like you have what has been called the best sampler trio in South Austin. And you
Yeah?
know what? You fucking believe it, because you can't you are they're flying out of the kitchen. On Tuesday nights, you guys sell so many sampler trios that it's like mind-boggling. You make these cheeseburger egg rolls. You have an order of chips and queso and these beer battered, hand breaded, golden fry onion rings.
Yes.
The trio together is sublime. And you sell a shitload of them on Trivia Tuesdays. And it's always like your staff's favorite night of the week too, because these guys tip big, right?
Oh, good.
These guys fucking tip big. They
Any
drink a lot
particular reason?
because the money that's flying around,
Oh, okay,
people are
yeah.
celebrating, people are mourning, people are gambling college funds, car payments, rent money.
Okay. I'm
It's
liking
a
this
place
less
of
and less.
joy, it's a place of pain. There's been more than one day that you've come in the next morning and have had to call the fire department because somebody's in the parking lot in a running car.
Really?
Yeah. So, but innies and outies, like the food's solid, the food's solid, the business is good. Yeah, your Tuesday night is a little bit chaotic and you've seen lives change and you've seen psyches crack,
Yeah,
but
cheese.
you've got that sampler trio is really something else, man. Those cheeseburger egg rolls, you really perfected them.
Oh yeah. So they're only available during Tuesday, or
It's a special appetizer trio. It's your Tuesday night app trio
why not just have it all the time?
because I don't know, as you've gotten older, you've turned into a bit of a tease.
That fucking sucks to hear, man.
Every Tuesday
Oh,
night, somebody leaves a comment
Aaron,
card like, "Please bring this
Aaron.
trio back." I would be here so much more often if you had this trio. And every time you read it, you just get a sly grin across your face,
Of course I do.
and you think, "One night's enough for now, fellas." You just smile.
I'm just teasing him.
Every Tuesday night, you walk out and you act like you're cleaning the soda fountain, and you kind of say like pretty loudly, "Yeah, we're thinking about bringing the trio back later in the week," and like gambling stops, right? Like a guy fucking has a little roulette wheel set up in one of the booths. He stops, everybody stops because they're like, that's fucking news, man. They're gonna bring the trio back another night of the week.
Wow.
If
It
you
is kind of crazy.
if you did, you imagine that like you'd have to start up another trivia night because these guys would have another night just dominating your dining room.
Dining room domination.
So yeah, there is like a gambling ring that's running in your dining room one night a week and potentially more depending upon your business decisions, but that's something that you'll have to think about yourself. So you're again, you're up at 5 a.m. wiping the fucking crust from your eyes,
Yeah.
getting ready for the day. You get out of bed, you go into work, right? Like I said, you got a produce truck coming, and you're not a guy who just like hangs out in the office. You're not a guy who just like does admin shit and paperwork. That produce truck comes. Guess who's helping throw that truck? You are, Daddy-O, right? You got a Bunzel truck coming. They're dropping off some to-go containers. Guess who's helping, unload those and put those in the storage room?
Is it me?
Breaking down those boxes. It's you, man.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of work around there. You're big time invested. And yeah, the gambling thing is like not ideal, but they always clean up. The only thing they leave behind is cold hard cash. Even though you can like look out there and tell that they're smoking, you never find a cigarette. You never find any ashes, you know.
Oh wow.
One time a guy walked in with an adult male rooster under his arm, didn't find a fucking feather, nothing. Like they leave with no trace other than that cold hard cash. They leave for your staff.
Okay.
So that's not ideal, but you're, innings and
Whatever.
outies, he's doing pretty good. And yeah, the right left split is obviously going to be skewed towards, the innies a little bit more. So unless you're like a really high level trivia player or something where you can, answer all the questions and your answers have more weight than the other side does, unless you're that level, you're just not going to beat the other side, especially with all that money on the line.
Sure.
So you know the game, you know that on Tuesday mornings you got to come in and you got to prep probably 15, 16 more orders of cheeseburger egg rolls. You're going to be up to your elbows in onion ring batter up until lunchtime. Like you understand that you got to push these trios out because tonight is Tuesday trivia night
Let's go.
and it's raining, which means some of the places that offer similar activities, they operate outside, they operate under tarps, whereas you have this nice roof. overhead lighting,
Brick and mortar,
ample
baby.
an ample menu at their disposal, a full bar. Are you fucking kidding me? So when it rains on these game nights, it gets a little bit rowdier.
What's the name of my place again?
Innies and outies.
Innies and outies. Yeah.
To be honest with you, your takeaway menu does not do a lot. There aren't a lot of like outward, outie belly button people that are like wanting to order out. Um, so yeah, your bread and butter is definitely is an indoor sit down establishment.
Okay.
So you come in on that specific Tuesday, you make 15 extra orders of egg rolls, more than normal. You see the thunderheads rumbling towards you from the distance, bubbling over the horizon with an intensity that takes your breath away for just a moment, because you know that the storm is going to bring in a more full dining room. You look at that 15 extra orders and you go, man, I better add 5 to 7 more.
Yeah.
You do that. You get ready.
All right.
Around 6 p.m., a little bit before that, they start to filter in, right? One at a time. They're all ordering, well, not all of them. A lot of them are ordering the sampler trio. You've already got a couple of them queued up, ready to rock and roll. Just getting them out there because you know it's coming. Over the next 20 minutes or so, the dining room fills up. A lot of guys are wearing those like plastic colored visors, like the green visors, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
The trivia game starts in your lobby, and people are placing bets, right? And really, like the innings, the uh the inning side is like dominating, right? Just the numbers alone, right? They have one person, they all come to consensus, they vote in large chunks. That's how they earn all their points in this trivia game. Whereas, the other side, the outies, a much smaller group, their answers have more weight behind them. So if they're wrong, then it's going to cost them more, you know? And
All
some of
right.
these outies people, they're not very good. So it's all about, there are people in the booths that are setting like the spread, right? They're over there, they got a book, they're taking bets. You're seeing cash just flying up and down the aisles, right? People are like betting hard, betting fast on who's going to win this trivia game and by how much. Well, really by how much, because it's kind of a foregone conclusion that the innies are going to win. A couple minutes after the game starts, a group of 5 men come in.
Okay.
They're all about the exact same height, about 5'10". They have full heads of thick brown hair, square jaws. They're all like wearing like a clear plastic vests. You can see their chiseled chest and rippling abs through the plastic. Except they kind of stand there with their hands like kind of crossed in front of them over their stomach. Your cashier kind of stands there and she goes, or your hostess, and she's like, "Okay, gentlemen, have you been to Innies and Outies before?" They go, "Yes." And they go, "Okay, well, what side are you?" And they all say in unison, "Outies." And then they like move their hands and they all have like Audi belly buttons. And so
Okay.
they walk to the table and sit down. A hush falls over the betting crowd.
Why?
There's a new variable in play. Lines are about to change. This is
Okay.
the dance a lot of these guys live for. A moment where curiosity, ignorance, familiarity, psychology, where they all come into play, where it's one side against the other, and who can have the edge and for how long, until the talent of these 5 young men with their thick heads of walnut, chestnut hair, and their chiseled jaws,
Okay.
when they sit down and start answering trivia, only then will they know where the true betting line lies. But until then, there's a brief instant where the public and the odds maker are the same, and it's a
Huh.
race to the finish. And you're looking out upon this full dining room full of degenerates, and you've never seen it this way. You've never heard it this way before. You hear the scrape of the metal chairs as the four, or pardon me, the five men sit down at their table, the crinkle of the plastic of the menus as they unfold them, and look to see what kind of fare it is you offer those with a protruding belly button. Your buns for your sandwiches have a belly button on them, and it like sticks out of the, it's like a little bump that sticks out of the very top.
Both innies and outies?
No, just outies.
Huh.
It's sort of like your inherent bias against innies, or against the outies rather, as an innie man yourself.
Sure.
Also, you didn't ever reveal that. I just knew it about you.
Yeah, we've gone swimming a lot together.
Yeah.
Plenty of
So
pictures.
it's it's just one of those things where it's a blind spot you have. So yeah, you have a little Audi belly button and all your buns that go on top of the Audi burgers and sandwiches.
It's so stupid.
One of the guys says, "Oh, hey, trivia." And they all notice the sort of the tablets that sit in front of them. You see them pick the tablets up and they all type their names in there. And over the next 30 minutes, they absolutely mop the floor
What are their
with the Ennie.
names?
Um, Brian, Brian,
Okay.
Bryan,
Oh no.
Bryin,
Oh.
Brine,
Oh God, that's these are really bad.
and Briyin.
Ryan. That sucks. Oh,
Yeah,
that is the
Brian.
worst. All right, whatever.
Yeah, so they all, and again, they mop the floor with the Ennies,
Wow.
right? And they are stunned. They haven't lost this bad in probably like 18, 19 months.
Ooh.
And that's what has made your game so remarkable and predictable is that like the steadiness of the innings has just allowed, reliable, accurate betting lines. And that's really been the fuel, that's been keeping your business afloat. So to see people leave that night, not so much upset, but more than confused as to what happened.
Yeah, I
And
bet.
and almost an understanding that a shift has occurred and that there is a new landscape being formed beneath their feet. And in the coming weeks, they will be tested, and someone will emerge victorious until the equilibrium settles. But for now, this is the gold rush, baby. Who's going to guess right?
Yeah.
Because as they're getting ready to leave, the five Bryans stand there and they say, "This was so nice. We're coming back next week."
Oh
And
no.
they all five look at the other side. They go, "And every week after that." As they walk out, one of them takes like a ticket over to one of the guys, and he
Ryan?
kind of like looks down, and he looks back at this guy, the guy who's seeming like running everything, and he nods his head, and they give one of the Bryans $50,000 in cash,
Wow.
and then they all say in unison, "Good game, guys. See you next week," and they leave.
Ah, that was like six of them.
Well, there's five altogether, so
Five. Sorry, but that's five of them all saying that at the same time. It's so
yeah.
creepy. Ah, that is
They all
unsettling.
like walk and move in a straight line, almost like marionettes. Their movements are like perfectly in sync. They're all like the exact same size and shape.
Oh man.
So the five Bryans, leave a mark on you. People leave again that night, just like confused and almost scared. Just change is not easy.
No.
And the tenor of the restaurant over the next week is markedly different.
Mm.
Almost like there was an anticipation, like a shock wave. That an earthquake happens and everybody kind of like steadies himself for a second, and then there's a shock wave, and you felt that that was coming this upcoming Tuesday. That Tuesday morning, you go in, you make your cheeseburger egg rolls, you prep them, you make your batter for the onion rings. Your cooks are whizzing up your salsa, your queso. You got a basket full of hot tortilla chips just out of the fryer. You steady yourself at the hostess stand, kind of looking out into the parking lot as just a piece of shit cars, just like the shittiest cars you've ever seen in your life,
Okay.
right? Like none of the paint matches on any of them, right? Like
Oh,
none of them
wow.
have like the hubcaps they're supposed to have. It's just a bunch of fucking beaters, you know,
Yeah.
just the car, like just like the bumpers just been ripped off, 75% of them have a light that doesn't function right now. None of their registration is current, right? If you had to find a single car that had a current registration, you'd have to go to a different lot. It's just you're not going to find anybody in there who's got a current car registration.
Wow.
These guys all get out of their car, just sort of hunched over, looking defeated already. They come in, they place they sit down, they place their orders for the trio. Amongst other things, you sell a lot of burgers that night. You sell a lot of chicken strips, you know,
Okay.
a lot of cheese fries. So your kitchen's really working overtime. These guys are coming out, they're eating more. You're selling a lot more than you're used to. It's sort of an angst. Around 6:15, a white van pulls up and the five Bryans get out.
They're back.
They all walk in, they place their orders. They say they take their seat, they place their orders, and they pick up the tablets in front of them and they just stare across at the innies, who look just totally shook. The man in the back corner booth, wearing the thick glasses, holding the open ledger in front of him, just kind of nods, and the trivia starts.
The
People start
signal is
taking
given.
bets, right? People start taking bets. The game starts when the light in the parking lot comes on. When your like outdoor sign comes on, which is at 6 p.m. on the dot. So the innies and outies light comes on. You get the go ahead to start. The game starts. Bets start rolling in.
Let's do this.
About half, pardon.
I said, let's do this. Sorry.
So you're watching it from the hostess stand. Money's flying in on both sides, right? You got trios coming out, piping hot cheeseburger egg rolls, the crispiest, crunchiest, most golden brown onion rings this side of Waco. Chips and queso that on their own would top any list, any best of list in the city. These things are flying out. They're getting devoured, right? Over the next 30 minutes, the Bryans just wipe the floor with the innies. This time, some people sort of betrayed the innies and bet against them. They bet on the Bryans. They're leaving very happy. A lot of other people are very upset. The equilibrium has been disrupted. The guy with the thick glasses slams his hand down on the counter. An cheeseburger egg roll flies up in the air. He catches it in his open mouth. Everyone leaves largely in silence.
Ugh.
Your staff cleans up, picking up the cold hard cash, left as tips. And you're just like, what the fuck happened? A week goes by. Tuesday arrives. The parking lot fills up with the normal ragtag crew of degenerates that are gambling in your business establishment. They filter in, they order their appetizers. Food starts coming out. Dining room starts filling up. Same white van pulls up. The
Oh
five
man.
Bryans get out. They're all wearing like the same outfit. They move in unison. They order their food and sit down. They pick up the tablets and they all smile. The game starts. Nobody bets. Nobody bets. They just don't
Mm.
bet, right? The five Bryans sort of look across, like puzzled. They all say in unison, they say, "What's going on?" The man with the
Why they...
glasses stands up and he says, "You have disrupted our game. We'll wait for you to go." And the five Bryans say, "We're here to play the game, and we're not going anywhere." The old man looks up at you. You're the one that sets up the trivia game. He kind of looks up at you and he says, "What can you do?" He kind of like points at you and he lifts up his shirt. You lift up your shirt, revealing an innie.
Yeah.
Everybody gasps. The Bryans laugh at you. They say, "Him?" And they chuckle. They all take a bite of an egg roll in unison. And the crunch that echoes throughout your hallowed hall could shake a home from its foundation.
Wow.
Do you sit in on the trivia game with your insider
Absolutely.
knowledge?
Yep. I don't
So
like
you
these
walk
guys.
over, you sit down, you over the next like 30 minutes, your knowledge of the questions in advance helps you easily defeat the five Bryans.
Fuck these guys.
They look frustrated as fuck. They stand up and they say, "You cheated. You knew the answers ahead of time." They all pick up an onion ring, throw it at you. It hits you in the face,
Oh man.
but they're so good you almost enjoy it.
At least they're not hot still by that point.
No, not at that point. But so they throw the food at you. Somebody on the Ennies throws a plate at one of the Bryans, Bryin. They throw it at Brian, and it just hits him in the head. It splits him open.
Oh.
The Bryans like rush, the Ennies. The Ennies fight back, and there's just like a
Oh
huge
no.
brawl. And at a certain point, numbers are what they are, and the Ennies just, I mean, they eviscerate the Bryans. They were just overwhelmed.
Oh, I did not want this.
The five Bryans lay it on your floor. All of the innies sort of like they all back out of there slowly.
They
They're all
all
like
back out.
they're all like tiptoeing backwards with like a grinning look on their face, like, "Oh fuck." They're all like they all just want nothing more than to leave right then. And then
Sure.
the cops show up. They find all
Uh,
five Bryans laying there lifeless on your floor. And the guys, as the cops were like pulling up, the guys were like, "Hey, the owner of this place just killed these five guys," and then they
oh,
all left in their
what?
like shitty cars. and like the smoke, the exhaust from their cars like clouded the vision around like your restaurant for like 15 minutes. The cops had no idea which way they all went in their degenerate cars. The cops they take you to jail, they throw you in prison, and
Oh man.
on your first night, you're beaten to death by your cellmate because you keep farting in your sleep, and then he wakes you up and he just rams your head through the cell doors until it fits, and then you
Oh,
just die
oh.
right there. You were farting in your sleep and he
Oh,
just couldn't stand it.
God. Well, I can't help that.
Your body just kind of like hung there, held up only by your head, wedged in the bars. But yeah, you fucking died.
Not not cut out for prison.
No, first night.
Damn.
Yeah.